Hello and welcome. This is class number 25 of the UPSC Prelims Quick Revision Series for 2024. I hope you're all set for 16th of June, and these classes have been helping you revise a bit of current affairs that you have already read. Today again, we have some current affairs from environment. Today, most of the topics are about the species that are in the news. I know the UPSC asks a lot of questions about certain species that are in the news. So I made multiple tables for that so that you can actually revise and see what are the important pointers regarding that. It's a table form. Rather than me doing something, you'll have to revise it on your own. So as I told you earlier as well, you can get the PDF of these lectures. All that you have to do is join the Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. On Telegram channel, I'll upload the PDF and you can revise it from there. But please do that. And also do hit the subscribe button before we begin this. First is news number 251, Wildlife Sanctuary in the news. If you remember in the last class that we ended, in the end we were discussing some of the tiger reserves that were in the news. Continuing on that, there were some other places in the news such as the Debrigarh Wildlife Sanctuary, because the government of India is looking to give it a push and include it in certain tourism schemes. These are a few things that you must know about this particular wildlife sanctuary. It's in Odisha near the Hirakund Dam. It is dedicated or was declared as a wildlife sanctuary in 1985. The National Tiger Conservation Authority approved the state's proposal to declare Debrigarh a tiger reserve as well. It became the third tiger reserve in Odisha. One other very interesting fact is that freedom fighter Surendra Rai, when he was rebelling against the British, he had set up his base in Barapatra that is located within this sanctuary. So it has a historical significance as well. Do remember that point. Another wildlife sanctuary in the news was the Borachapori Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. This is a wildlife sanctuary where rhinos have returned after 40 years. In the 1980s, due to large-scale encroachment and hunting, we saw most of the rhinos becoming extinct here, and now we see a return of the rhinos after about 4 decades or so. It's a part of the larger Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape. It was declared as a reserve forest first in 1974, then a wildlife sanctuary in 1995. Again, it's a part of the buffer zone of Kaziranga Tiger Reserve. That's why it's famous. It's in Assam. Do remember that. It has a significant population of tiger. There are other animals such as the Bengal florican, whistling duck. These are also found here. It's home to great one-horned rhinoceros, tiger, leopard, etc. Now comes a flurry of species that are in the news. First, let me apologize. I'm giving you a lot of tables here because there will be a lot of species in the news. I know it will not be possible for you to remember all of them, but at least my effort is to let you know that these were the species in the news. And I've given them in the table form, and you may decide which ones you want to remember, which ones you not want to remember. So there are a lot of tables, starting with the first one. There is the Rudi shelduck. It's listed as least concern in IUCN. It's a migratory bird that comes to India. It's also known as a Brahmini duck in India. Then we have the dancing frog, very famously found in the Western Ghats. It's very famous for its habit of waving their feet to attract the females. That is why it's called as a dancing frog. We have the Egyptian vulture here. Vultures were a lot in the news because of the threat that they face because of all these medicines that are being given to animals and then they feed on the animal. If you remember, we had discussed multiple topics about vultures in the past. In this series itself, we have seen how Jharkhand has opened a vulture restaurant, if you remember, for feeding of vultures. Then the snow crabs, they live in the coldest part of North Atlantic Sea. Male and female can be distinguished by the shape of their flaps. Next table, the swamp deer, also known as the Barasinga. It's found very widely in the Indian subcontinent. It's found in North India and in Central India. It's regarded as critically endangered by IUCN. Then the walking leaves. It's a leaf insect. Looks like a leaf only, as you can see in the photo, but it's actually an insect. It feeds on the plant and it lives in densely vegetated areas. The look of this particular insect makes it extremely safe because you are not able to gather from a distance whether is it a leaf or is it a plant. It's also seen in Papua New Guinea, Australia, South Asia and other parts. Some of the other species that were in the news include the tahake bird. It has returned to the forest of New Zealand. It had been declared extinct over 100 years ago. 1890 it was believed to have been extinct, but it has returned back. We don't know how it has returned back, but it has. Then species such as the stump-tailed macaw, also known as the bear macaw. It's a species of the old monkey from South Asia. It's mainly found in northeastern states of India. Indian oil sardine, a fish that was in the news. It contributes 15% of total marine fish production in India. So one of the very commonly found fish in India. It's in very, very high abundance on the coast of Kerala and Karnataka. Sambar deer again in the news. As I told you, there are a lot of tables here. You would have to do the reading. I just read it out for you, but you have to do the reading. So the best way here would be to go to a Telegram channel, download the PDF and then revise from there. Just revise a couple of points, not from all, obviously all would be difficult, but read at least a couple of points from them and hopefully you'll be able to remember. Mithun, this is important. The descendants of Indian gaur or bison, they have gotten the food animal tag from FSSAI. It is also a state animal of Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland, listed as vulnerable in IUCN. Then there were birds such as Indian skimmers in the news. They are called as the Indian scissors bill. They are found in India and in neighboring countries. There are also some other new species that have been given new names. So for example, there is a new species named after APJ Abdul Kalam. He has been given, or the species has been named as Betelgeuse kalami. They are actually a form of tardigrades. They are also known as water bears. They are microscopic 8-legged animals. They can survive in extreme conditions without the requirement of any food or water. Then there is Himalayan vulture, clouded leopards, western tragopan. All these were in the news that you can actually take a look at. Monitor lizards, one of the most horrifying animals that I think exist. Indian flying fox was also in the news. It is the largest bat in the world, belongs to a species of mega bats. They have been identified as carriers of the Nipah virus. That is why they were in the news. So do remember about this. Then we have birds such as the palm cockatoo, known as a great black cockatoo. It has a unique appearance, as you can see in the photo. So again, these are the species. Again, I'm just going through them quickly. You can take a look at them and try and read them at your own leisure. These are the species that were in the news. Black buck always remains in the news. The famous case of black buck where Salman Khan was involved, that is why it was in the news. Then pygmy hog, again in the news. It is the rarest and the smallest species of wild pig in the entire world. It is found in the foothill of the Himalayas, very rare mammal. Its population is seen mainly in the Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, and there are sea butterflies, etc. Gangetic dolphins, again this has been asked in the paper. They are known by the name of Susu. Their IUCN status is endangered. This is one of the oldest creatures in the world, with some of the species of turtle, crocodiles, etc. They are generally believed to be blind. So do remember that as well. Then there were some invasive species in the news. Invasive species means species that don't belong to this habitat, that have come in from outside. These are called invasive species. So for example, red fire ant was in the news, the gambusia fish was in the news, Caribbean false mussel was in the news, and then this is the last table. So again, these are all the species that were in the news. I know, not possible to remember all of them, but then there's no way to guess from where the UPSC will ask. So either you can be in that category where you say, oh, I will not read this table, it is too much, too confusing, I will not read it. That depends entirely upon you. Or you can be in the second category where you can say, okay, at least I will make a reading of it. Let's see, if I remember some, great. If I don't remember, that is also entirely up to my luck. But these are two categories of students. You have to decide which one are you. Let's move on to a few more news stories. Coal gasification was in the news. The government has approved funding of 8,500 crore for coal gasification. As the name suggests, coal gasification basically means a chemical process that converts coal into combustible gas mixture. So what happens a lot of times when extracting of coal becomes difficult, you try and convert coal into gas within the earth's surface and then basically bring out the gas. That is called coal gasification. It's much more environment friendly. It's much easier. It does not require as much storage space as coal does. That is why it actually has a lot of advantages. This coal gas is a mixture of hydrogen, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. This is called syngas or synthesis gas. Do remember that these are the three components of the synthesis gas. It's produced from coal gasification and then it can be used in a lot of things. It can be used for producing synthetic natural gas, energy, fuel, etc. India, as you know, has been trying to get its hands on as much energy of different kinds as possible. Indian government in 2023 had launched the National Coal Gasification Mission. The aim was to achieve coal gasification and liquefaction of 100 million tons by 2030. So we have been working in that regard. As you know, the Government of India enterprise, the Coal India Limited, is the one that looks into coal exploration in India. They plan to set up at least 3 gasification plants across the entire country wherever we see enough coal deposits. Then another thing in the news was a new technology for waste disposal called biotrig. It's a technology that is said to be utilized in rural areas where we don't have a lot of waste disposable facilities. See, in cities such as Delhi, you see these huge mountains of waste. Why is it that we have so much waste? Because the amount of waste that we produce is much more as compared to the amount of waste that we can recycle. So to bridge that gap, we have to find out new ways, and this is a new technology in that regard called biotrig. It involves a process called pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is a technology which means when you heat something at very high temperature without oxygen. So heating waste in an oxygen free chamber at temperature of over 400 degrees Celsius. That is called pyrolysis. This is the technology. The idea is when this happens, waste will be converted to organic material. This process will have 3 byproducts and all these 3 can be used somewhere. Pyrolysis will produce bio-oil number 1, syngas number 2 that we just discussed, and biochar number 3. These are the 3 things that will come up as an outcome or as a byproduct of this entire process. This is how it will take place. Again, burning of this household waste at a oxygen-free environment of over 400 degrees Celsius. Bio-oil, it will be used for cooking, heating, generating electricity. Syngas that we just saw, made up of carbon monoxide, dioxide and hydrogen, it can fuel the pyrolysis process itself once again, so it can be in a feedback loop. Biochar, it's a charcoal-like substance. It can serve as a soil amendment and it can enhance the fertility of the soil as well. So rather than setting up waste disposal plants, rather than setting up waste recycle plants, under this particular process, the biotrig, the Government of India plans to set up these processes in the rural areas of India specifically to ensure that we can get rid of this waste and we don't need to have a lot of facilities for its disposal. Another technology in the news was ReduPave. ReduPave is a technology mainly for construction of roads in areas where temperatures are very low. If you have realized or if you have noticed, when the roads are built and when you go to a freshly built road, there's a lot of heat coming out of it because charcoal is heated. It has to be heated at a very high temperature and then it can be used in the road. The problem is when you are building road at a place where there is 0 degrees Celsius temperature or minus temperature, then what do? You can't produce so much heat, it will cool down very quickly. For that, a new technology has come up called the ReduPave technology for high altitude road construction such as areas in Arunachal Pradesh. It is being utilized by BRO. They have started this technology or using this technology to build roads on the Indo-China border. It's a liquid bio-based asphalt modifier and rejuvenating agent developed by CSIR. It is a bio oil based product. Again, bio oil was, as we just saw, was an outcome of the pyrolysis process. Bio oil based product, it reduces the heating requirement and it is used in road construction to address the challenge of very low temperatures. Because for construction of roads, you usually would require higher temperatures, which is not possible in these cold weather conditions, and that is how this technology can come in handy for you. This addresses construction challenges at low temperatures, as I said, used by BRO to build bituminous roads at different sections, especially in Arunachal Pradesh near India-China border. It is developed using bio oil, which is eco-friendly. And again, we just saw bio oil was an outcome or a byproduct of the pyrolysis process that India is planning to do for waste disposal in the rural areas. Next article, star rating system for SEIAA. What exactly is this? So basically in 2022, the government of India thought that why not introduce a star rating system for state-wise environmental agencies. So every state have their own environmental bodies that give clearance to certain projects in the state. Depending upon how quickly they give clearance to certain projects, they will be given a rating. So that every investor, every big company knows that if they are coming to a specific state to invest or to build any infrastructure, how good their environmental body is. This was this system called SEIAA, that is State Environment Impact Assessment Authority Star Rating System. It was introduced in India in 2022, but the big part is it has not been implemented so far. Although all the rules and regulations have come out, it has not been implemented so far. SEIA are regulatory bodies established under the Ministry of Environment. They are the ones that give green signal to projects within the state. They have to first assess whether the projects are harming the environment or not, their impact on the environment. Based on that, they will give green light to certain projects. That is how this system works in. So basically, if you look at the rating system, the industries must apply annually for a star rating system. They will be given a star rating from 1 to 5. 5 stars means highest environmental compliance, and ratings are publicly displayed on the website. SEIAA will receive points on the basis on the scale of 0 to 7 rather. The points are in this manner. They are graded 0 to 1 on 5 parameters and 0 to 2 on granting environmental clearance. So for example, if environmental clearance is given in less than 80 days, they will be given 2 points. If environmental clearance is given in 80 to 105 days, they will be given 1 point. If environmental clearance is given after 120 days, 0 points will be given. So that is how the state authorities will also be given the points. So industries on one hand will be given a star rating that this industry is very environmental friendly. Are they following guidelines or not? And the environmental authority at the state level, they will be given these points or these ratings based on how quickly did they give clearance to all these projects. This brings us to the end of today's session, a small one, short one, because it is you that has to do the hard work in this one, because you have to remember the tables. I will be uploading this PDF on the Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. Do join that and you can become a part of it. Therein, download that and then revise it. I'll see you in the next one tomorrow at 6 p.m. All the very best. Jai Hind.